name is Sandra Murphy. I prefer the pronoun she, her, and I will serve as the worship associate this morning. This is the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Flint, an inclusive, progressive, LGBTQINA+ affirming church. We are pleased to have you with us. If you'd like more information about Unitarian Universalism, hold on. Okay. Nothing else, I'm flexible. If you'd like more information about Unitarian Universalism or our congregation, please contact our office or one of our ministers. That information can be found at uuflint.org. And can somebody tell me what to do with this?
You're fine.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's bring ourselves back to the center. We will start now again. There are some announcements I want to share with you, and these announcements are posted in the weekly e-update. If you don't receive it, you can get it by filling out one of these cards. It's in the seat back, or you can scan the QR code that's on the order of service. As some of you may remember, I played a very pregnant and appropriately grouchy Mary, Mother of Jesus, at last year's Christmas Eve service. Yeah, I can tell by the joking around that some of you do remember that. It was memorable, untraditional, and we may have a slide on it, I'm not really sure. We're going to be celebrating Christmas Eve this year with an equally reverent or irreverent service at 5 p.m., followed by a soup social at 6 p.m. We invite you to bring your favorite soup to share. Please see Raina Beck with any questions. There will be no Sunday service on Christmas Day, so please come on Christmas Eve to celebrate the holiday with your UU friends. As is our tradition, we will be taking an offering at the Christmas Eve service for the minister's discretionary fund. This fund is used at the discretion of the ministers for individuals who face emergencies, including sometimes our own members. At times, just a loan is needed. Other times, this fund provides assistance to people who are homeless due to house fires or domestic violence. It's also used to purchase gift cards for distribution. Donations for the minister's discretionary fund can be given at any time, just not on Christmas Eve. So be sure to indicate on the check or the envelope that your contribution is for that purpose. Join us for a mushroom luncheon and beginners workshop hosted by Decriminalize Nature. It will be held in Nelson Hall on Saturday, December 10th from 2 to 5. The $10 entry fee will provide you with a delicious mushroom meal, non-psychoactive, of course, and an informative speaker. UUCF will have a Sunday service on this subject on January 22nd, 2023. For more information, contact Jerry. Contributions for holiday gifts for the UUCF staff are now being accepted by Ruth Straw. Contact her for more information, and thank you. We now have our chalice lighting. This? Okay.
I'm not good with these.
One of those mornings.
Okay. I'm not good with these.
Okay, so we need to have.
That's okay. No.
Nope, we'll. Here we go.
I just can't do.
Yeah. All right. We light this chalice in the midst of this season of celebrations, seasons of the birth, recognizing the richness of diversity the beauty and wonder of shared worship, and the transforming power of love and service, we gather as a sacred, intentional community to freely seek knowledge and truth, to celebrate the fullness of life, and by our actions to increase goodness and justice.
This is the season of endings and beginnings, when the small signs of dawn pierce through the night and something new is born. But first comes the waiting. First comes the lessons of endings and beginnings. Grant us, O universe, unfolding in mystery, a sense of your timing. May we loosen our grip on that which doesn't serve us, leaving behind that which we have outworn and outgrown. Remind us that such waitings and endings may be a starting place, a planting of seeds, which bring to birth what is ready to be born. Something right and just and different. A new song, a deeper relationship, a fuller love, all in the fullness of time.
Speaking of a new song, this hymn might be a little less familiar to some of you, but sing out loud and sing out wrong. It's all right. It's the only way you'll learn it. Stand if you're able. Our faith is but a single gem upon a rosary of beads, the thread of truth which runs through them supports a varied human needs. Confucian wisdom, Christian care, the Buddhist way of self-control, the Muslim's daily call to prayer are proven pathways to their goal. From many lips in every age, the truth eternal is proclaimed by Western saint and Eastern sage, on all the good, however named. Beside the noblest of our race, our lives as yet cannot compare. May we at length their truth embrace, and in their sacred mission share. That was lovely. Please be seated.
After our words of meditation and our time of silence, you'll be invited to either come forward or go to the back of the sanctuary to light a candle of joy or concern. And you can also write down your joy or concern in one of the books at the back of the sanctuary, and we'll make sure to get it into our e-update. Our meditation reading today is simply entitled A Christmas Prayer. Gods and goddesses of darkness and light, spirit of life and love, we come together in this sacred time to awaken ourselves to the joys of the Christmas season, to the miracles of life, the birth of a baby, the rise of the sun once more, the magic of this earth, of Mother Nature herself, the love of one another. The holidays call us to remember that the ordinary can become extraordinary. To remember that any child, our own children, can become great prophets, teachers, leaders of nations, saviors even, not only of our souls, but of lives, working to end the ills and suffering in our world. So the challenging thing is, it's not to just look for miracles and finding that where there isn't one, but looking for miracles and realizing they are everywhere. Let us enter into the silence.
The following is the transcript, along with photos of a video produced in 2015 for the Christmas Eve service of Southland Christian Church in Kentucky. A group of children were interviewed by church staff to retell the story of the birth of Jesus while adults acted out the story. The actual video, available on Facebook, has had over 15 million views. So here is the story in the words of the children. An angel came to see Mary, and she was doing laundry, and then the angel just appeared, and she was really scared. So Gabriel was like, Mary, you're going to have a baby, and you're going to call him Jesus. And Mary was like, I'm not going to have a baby yet. I'm just a teenager, and I'm not married. Then Gabriel, the angel, went and told Joseph, Mary is not lying. She's going to have a baby. And so they met up and they went to Bethlehem, which was Joseph's old town. And they rode a donkey. A camel. And Mary said, wow, this is fast. And they tried to go to a hotel. And the keeper said, we have no rooms, literally no rooms. So Mary and Joseph walked away sadly. And then the keeper said, wait, the only place here in Bethlehem you can stay is the stable. And he pointed the way and they followed. And then when the shepherds were taking care of the sheep, they saw angels. And the angels said, a new baby is being born, and he's the King of the Jews. And they were singing, ah, glorious. And then the shepherd said, I think we should go there immediately. And another said, I agree. And the second said, yeah, I think so too. And they had to walk through a bunch of grass and bushes, and maybe they had to camp out a night. And then the wise men heard about it, and a star appeared. And one said, we should really follow that star, and it's pointing down to a barn. And so maybe we should follow it, maybe. So the wise men went to Jesus, and they gave him some gifts, like stuffed animals, like the hippo that I have at home, and some diapers, and some wipes, and some milk, and some shoes, some Jordans, probably, gold, Frankenstein, and myrrh. And I don't know how it could survive in that barn because it was too stinky and too crowded, and the room was very smelly. But one of the wise men said to Jesus, you're adorable. And Mary said to Jesus, thank you for coming. And a shepherd chimed in, he is going to be our best friend. And Joseph looked at Jesus and said, I love you. And you're the best baby I've ever seen. There, I said it. And finally, another wise man said, this new baby is going to change the world. The end. I'm back. So the first time she strayed from traditional children's religious education, it was 1893, and college freshman Sophia Lyons was teaching the 10 Commandments in Sunday school in a Presbyterian church. Now, every church, including the Unitarians, taught children doctrine directly from the Bible in essentially the same way at that time. Now, 40 years later, the American Unitarian Association, called the AUA, was in trouble. Membership was down over 50,000 members, and the Sunday school attendance had dropped dramatically. But this time, that Presbyterian college girl was a 61-year-old mother, professor, and author, and she had made a name for herself in the field of progressive, post-industrial children's religious education. The AUA took notice and hired Sophia Lyons Fahs, and in 1937, she became the children's editor to write new curriculum. Now, she wouldn't join a Unitarian church, though, until 1945. She remained in that position at the AUA until her retirement in 1951. During her tenure, she truly revolutionized religious education. One of her many accomplishments was separating myth, like the miracle birth story of Jesus, from science and fact for children. Fahs' path to Unitarianism is almost as fascinating as how she changed religious education. She was ordained as a Unitarian minister at the age of 82. And in her career, she authored 40 books. But her journey started as she struggled to teach children on a Sunday morning by using only the Bible, and became immediately convinced that there had to be a better way to educate children and get them engaged in wondering and questioning. Now, Sophia Lyons was born in China to Presbyterian missionaries, but she primarily grew up in Worcester, Ohio. Now, although she would become known as a radical thinker, her early experiences were not that exceptional, except that she had been exposed to other cultures and religions due to her parents' and then her Methodist husband's missionary work. Now, by the time her own children were grown, she had finished Columbia University's Teachers College, she had attended seminary, she had written 2 books already, and she had joined the faculty at Union Theological Seminary, only one of 2 women to ever do so. She was a prominent religious educator, progressive, of course, and spent much time leading various experimental Sunday schools. During her time at Union, a great Protestant debate about fundamentalism was occurring. Well, Fahs sided with the liberals, and this would greatly influence her future. When Union hired Reinhold Niebuhr, who was a preeminent theologian, Fahs was identified as having strayed too far from traditional Christian philosophy. Her path to Unitarianism was sealed. She saw the need for science and modern attitudes to be part of the conversation in a modern faith. She said ultimately, a person's religion was rooted in one's own experience, not in what they were expected to believe and memorize. This was especially crucial when children were old enough to start deciding things for themselves. Fahs said that the teacher's role was to lead the children to experiences of awe and imagination. Her philosophy and perspectives are hallmarks of UU curricula still in use today. We continue to value experiential learning, critical study of the Bible, and emphasizing the humanity of Jesus. If you attend any UU congregation in the month of December, you can see her influence on how the story of Jesus' birth is told. But let me emphasize, it is still told. Fahs appreciated the magical aspect of birth itself. She just felt that it was true for all births, not just that of a prophet. She was famous for writing, "Each night a child is born is a holy night." But as we start getting ready for Christmas, a lot of us are not thinking about the child, holy or not, behind the holiday. I mean, some of us really do get into it, or shall I say we get into the aesthetic aspects of it. Candles, lights, cute reindeer, Santa Clauses, candle trees, glass trees, plastic trees, artificial trees, wooden trees. Okay, I should say that Jerry has to restrain me from emptying every box in the garage that is labeled Christmas decor. Now, I used to be able to say that it was for the young ones, but that doesn't cut it anymore. Although kids do help us keep the spirit of the season alive for adults. From their excitement of the shiny lights and trimming the tree to the anticipation of opening gifts that they've been eyeing for weeks, or even the adults have been eyeing, I think we all feel a little bit younger and happier just watching. And in terms of magic, when you think about it, Christmas is full of a lot of fantastical stuff. You've got the reindeer that fly. One of them's got a shiny nose that lights up. An ancient man who delivers presents all around the world in a single night, and they're made by elves. Now, you might also have some of your own traditions that add a little pizzazz to the holidays as well, whether it's decorating your tree with antique ornaments that have been in your family for over 100 years, like I do, or just making some special cookie recipe every year. The sights, the sounds, and the smells of this time of year can bring memories of Christmases past flooding back. I can smell the faint orange and chocolate aroma as I unbox my childhood scratch and sniff book, The Sweet Smells of Christmas. You can see, it's old. Although in places, both my son and I have nearly scratched tiny holes in the pages, the scent still lingers after all these years. Whatever fills your senses in the next few weeks, it's inevitable that a little nostalgia will sneak up on you at some point. And one thing is for sure, we will all be reminded through song, nativity scenes, or right here in the sanctuary, Christmas is rooted in a mythical story about the miracle birth of a baby born of a virgin. And most of us were indoctrinated to believe that it was doctrine based on a historical fact. That's exactly why Fahs wrote one of her better-known books, From Long Ago and Many Lands. It was first published in 1948. She set out to introduce children to moral tales from around the world that had no supernatural aspects to them, except for the last 3 stories. Those were the miracle births of Jesus, the Buddha, and Confucius. She felt that children were going to hear the story of Jesus in the secular world at some point, and she thought giving the UU's perspective on that story was going to be important. And since Westerners know the Jesus story so well, Fahs added those 2 other stories to show that other religions had sacred birth stories as well. Now, you heard one version of the Jesus story this morning in the reading. Another miracle birth was said to have occurred some 5 centuries before in India, according to legend. Now, perhaps you are familiar with the story of Buddha's birth. This particular version is edited from Fahs and told by UU minister Bruce Clear. It is said that Buddha's mother, a queen, was a particularly kindly woman who fell asleep and had a vivid dream. She was carried away to the top of a mountain and left in an elegant room where an elephant with a lotus flower in its trunk touched the flower to the queen. The room was filled with heavenly light, and harps began playing with no one touching them. And then trees began to blossom. Deaf people could suddenly hear, and blind people could suddenly see, and wild animals suddenly became tame and gentle. When the queen awoke from the dream, she reported the story to the king, who immediately summoned 64 wise men to interpret the dream's meaning. Upon hearing the story, the wise men knew precisely what had happened. They told the king and the queen that she would have a baby, and that the baby was destined to someday become either the ruler of the entire world or else the greatest spiritual leader of all people. It was true that the queen would have a baby. And as the time of the birth drew near, while she walked through the grove of trees, she began to feel the signs of birth. The child emerged from her side and was caught in a blanket held by 4 angels, who suddenly appeared, saying, "Rejoice, O queen, a mighty son is born to you." The child was born wise enough to speak and strong enough to walk, and every place he stepped, a lotus flower appeared. The Buddha was born. Now, Fahs included the other stories in her book to expose children to all world religions, but also to nature, science, the universe, and their own emotions at age-appropriate developmental stages. Fahs even included sex education as part of her curriculum because you can't talk about virgin births without sex. That's what Fahs said. She was so unique in that she saw the development of the whole child in religious education, not just an indoctrination session that happened in so many other churches. The last birth story she included in her book was for Confucius. Now, myself, I can remember not knowing this story until I taught it in a UU class. Our story takes place in China about the same time as Buddha's. An old man of nobility was married to a much younger woman who came from peasants. They desperately wanted a son. And the wife, Ching Sai, would go to a sacred mountain to pray for a son. And as she climbed the mountain, the leaves of the trees and the plants would stand straight up in honor of the importance of her mission. And as she descended the mountain, they would drop back down again. Ching Sai did become pregnant, and shortly before the birth, she had a dream in which a unicorn approached her and offered her a long piece of jade that it held in its mouth. She took the jade and found in it writing which bore a prediction about the son that she would have. A son of the Great Spirit is to be born, it said. Someday he shall rule the entire land as a good and wise king. When the baby was about to arrive, 2 dragons appeared in the sky to ward off all evil influences. And then the 5 immortals, 5 old men who inhabited the 5 planets, appeared beside the dragons. They had come to celebrate the birth of the child. Soon after the birth, the parents noticed writing on the baby's chest. The writing was in a language that they could not understand, so the father summoned his wise advisors, who deciphered the words. And they said, "This night a child is born. He shall be a great king who shall make good laws and shall help people do the right." And Confucius was born. Now, Fahs once wrote that she hoped that by telling about these 3 birth stories in her book, that children would be touched by the unutterable mystery almost everyone feels when they are in the presence of any newborn baby. This shows the great respect she had for children and how much she admired the innate intelligence that all children possess. This is also evident in that she encouraged teachers to provide children with a scientifically accurate picture of the universe early in their learning so that later they could deal with myth. She gave one example with an anecdote from her personal experience. Two students, Wendell and Jimmy, were in her 6th grade class. One day, Wendell said, "Someone says that if you boiled all the chemicals in your body down and sold them, they'd only be worth 7 cents. It's the way you're put together that's the hard part." And then Jimmy added, "Just chemicals can't have children." Fahs reflected that they then had a tremendous opportunity to discuss the great mystery of life, our connections to the infinity, and birth and death. She wrote, "It is really not strange that what mankind has believed is in a supernatural realm can already be here in the natural." She wrote, "Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow," said Jesus. "Consider the flower in the crannied wall," wrote Tennyson. "Consider anything you please," says the Zen Buddhist, "but just consider it not as a symbol of eternity, as God in miniature, as a moral lesson, but just consider it." Perhaps you or your own children had these opportunities, but consider the children who never did. The ones who heard one miracle birth story of Jesus. And that is what they are expected to believe the rest of their lives. They never heard anything else. Think of never being able to hear all these other legends that capture the imagination. Now, I have one last birth story, but before I tell it, I want to go back to real life for just one moment. A few of us, and some of you are here today at UUCF, are working with the Brighton UU congregations to start having lessons for children every other Sunday. Sophia Lyons Fahs said, "It matters what we believe." And after studying her for today, I am even more committed to make good on that statement. We have a responsibility, I think, to help children discover their own beliefs. But to do that, we must always be ready for either the one child or the 10 that walk through our doors. That means that we also have to have volunteers ready to help them if they do walk through our doors. The work is quite limited because we are sharing it with Brighton volunteers, and we're going to be using Zoom. But some days it's going to be as simple as reading a story and discussing it, similar to what I'm doing today. So I'd like you to consider it. So here is our last miraculous birth story. And it is the story of the prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It was not included in Fahs' book, but I think it is also a very important story. In the land of Arabia, there was a leader of Mecca who had a son, Abdallah, who was known for his face that shined with a beautiful light. And one day, his father took him to distant relatives to be married to Amina, who was said to be pure in her thoughts and deeds. And soon Amina was with child. Abdallah had to leave to do business, and while he was away, he became very ill, and he died. One day, Amina had a dream, and a voice said to her, "The child you bear is the best of all humankind, and he will be a leader of his people. When he is born, give him the name of Muhammad, which means highly praised." Now, some people say that this voice that Amina heard was the voice of the angel Gabriel. Being a widow, Amina was alone when she was ready to have the baby. So one legend says that as Amina was in labor, a white bird came and lay its wing across her, helping her to keep her confidence. Later came birds of paradise to sing to her. When Amina grew thirsty, a hand appeared, presenting her with a cup filled with a delicious drink that was white as milk and as sweet as honey. Beings from the heavens scattered beautiful aromas around Amina. And the moment that Amina gave birth, a light came from her and the baby that was so bright that it lit up distant palaces. Then the baby raised himself up, saying, "There is no God but Allah, and I am his prophet." The baby was then brought to his grandfather and carried to the holiest place in Mecca. The prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born. Dozens of other cultures have creation or prophet stories with miracle births. Wild animals, dragons, flowers, and angels, and many other mysterious things appear. And the mothers are all told that their children will grow up to be leaders of something new and better for the world. Fahs saw the importance of sharing such stories with children so they understood our common humanity across cultures. She also believed every birth was sacred and wanted children to see other births in this way, but also for them to see their own holiness as well. If every child that participated in UU religious education program believed that each night a child is born is a holy night, imagine the effects. They would grow up to have confidence in the future of each other, in themselves, and in the entire world. To believe that anyone could be a prophet, that ordinary people are going to be heroes, and could indeed change the world as we know it. Sophia Lyons Fahs truly believed that every child was holy. She thought each child was a source of unlimited potential to offer something new and wonderful and better to the world. She saw it in Jesus, in Buddha, and Confucius. So I ask that you join her and celebrate all children, all births, miraculous and holy, each and every one.
Too many things, I know what I know, if you know what I mean. I'm not aware of too many things, I know what I know, if you know what I mean. Philosophy is talk on a cereal box. Religion is a smile on a dog. I'm not aware of too many things. I know what I know, if you know what I mean. Choke me in the shallow water before I get too deep. Choke me in the shallow water before I get too deep. What I am is what I am. Are you what you are or what? What I am is what I am. Are you what you are or? I'm not aware of too many things. I know what I know, if you know what I mean. Philosophy fear is walk on the slippery rocks. Religion is a light in the fog. I'm not aware of too many things. I know what I know, if you know what I mean. Choke me in the shallow water before I get too deep. Choke me in the shallow water before I get too deep. Choke me in the shallow water before I get too deep. Choke me in the shallow water before I get too deep. Choke me in the shallow water before I get too deep. Don't let me get too deep. Don't let me get too deep. Don't let me get too deep.
So Thanksgiving is in the rear view mirror, and we have endured Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Giving Tuesday. And here we are at Sunday, just plain old Sunday. I don't know about you, but I'm already weary of the hubbub related to buying and giving, and it's only December 4th. And sometimes I feel frustrated and overwhelmed, wondering how my gift, compared to the billions of dollars that we know has already been spent, how my one little gift is a mere drop in the bucket is going to have any impact. So thinking like that can prompt a person not to do anything, but for me, not doing anything is unacceptable. So I remind myself that my drop in the bucket plus your drop in the bucket and your drop and your drop and your drop means we have more than one bucket. We've got buckets, and when those buckets get dumped out, they make a splash. And then we've got something that's noticeable. Our drops are essential, and our drops for UUCF are vital. So I'm filled with gratitude for all of our drops. I encourage you to leave your drop in the basket at the back of the church as you leave today, or you can give your gift to uuflint.org online. These words are from William Arthur Ward, a Christian motivational speaker and teacher. He says, "Gratitude transforms common days into Thanksgiving, turns routine jobs into joy, and changes ordinary opportunities into blessings." I'm grateful for all of you.
All mothers should be told their child will grow up to be leaders of good change. Something new is always beginning that offers unlimited potential for bettering the world. Let us always be willing and ready to celebrate.
And let us extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together